Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I am Ananda Rose, and today I have with me returning to the channel, Maria Teresa Pratico-Swanson. Welcome again.
Hello, Ananda. It is so wonderful to be here with you and
Yeah.
to just explore these themes, right?
Yes,
All the things that
indeed.
we're experiencing here on this planet.
Exactly. Really interesting. Different things that are coming up at the moment that we're going through in terms of our experience. Now, today, everybody, we're talking about the twin flame concept. Well, I'm saying concept because, like I said at one point, I don't know anything about twin flames, and I don't. I don't.
Mhm.
It's almost like I'm sort of blocked off from that information. But
Mm.
today we're going to have you give us a little bit of perspective on twin flame and also your personal experience with it, right? So,
Mm.
Maria, before we go on, how are you? How are you going in this time of ascension and, in the space between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse? How are you doing?
I feel like there's been a lot of the 3D that's been removed. I feel like I am operating through the lens of higher dimensions all the time now. I
Right.
feel very removed from what's going on here on Earth,
Yeah.
which is a blessing, but also something I've done my own inner work to be able to reach.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a time of preparation. I was feeling a lot more energy in the middle of the month, and now I'm like a pretty tired.
Yeah.
So I've been like napping more and being quiet more and not doing as many activities outside my home
Mm.
because this is a time of going inwards. And so, we're with Libra season where it's all about balance. And
It
so
is.
it's really just flowing with balance. And that's what I'm doing. So
Mm.
yeah, a
Yeah,
little more
that's
quiet.
That's good. It's good, and I think we would advise anyone else to just be true, be true to yourself with how you're feeling, and just respond and give yourself what you need at this time, right? Because the ascension
Mm-hmm.
symptoms are pretty intense this time. They've always been intense, but
Mm.
this time I feel like whoa, it's just. I'm actually feeling a little bit drunk when I'm walking the dog, and I haven't had, I'm not drinking alcohol. And
Yeah.
have you noticed
Yeah,
that?
no, I can relate to that.
Yeah. I
Feeling
was
a
like,
little
wow.
off balance. Actually, I explained it to my partner the other day. We were having dinner together and I must have made a face and he said, "What's going on right now?" And I was like, "Should I explain this to him?" And I said, "Well, like when you drop a rock in water and it like ripples and it's like, a glitch. Like that's honestly how I like
Yeah.
experienced that. It was
Yeah.
like a glitch."
Yeah.
And
Very
so my guides
interesting.
just said, my guides were like, they were kind of laughing because a lot of times they tell me to keep these things to myself. But I
Well,
also like to tell him, I'm just like, here's what's going on for me. And he just like looks at me like, okay, all
yeah,
right.
because maybe he'll experience it one of these days, and then he'll say, "Oh, that was what Maria was talking about."
Yeah. And I just like to share with him about my experience. Like
Yeah.
no matter what, I'm always going to be true to who I am
Yeah.
and
That's your
show up
truth. Yeah.
authentically. And that is a huge part of this type of relationship.
Yes.
And I believe that not only is this like incredibly karmic, but he and I have astrological points that connect. We have a fated vertex
Okay.
connection, which is rare and extraordinary. So we're both Cancer risings in the first house. So that's our emotional style. That's how we show up in the world. Our destiny points are exactly the same, only a few degrees apart in Pisces. And so we know Neptune is in Pisces, is doing a lot of work right now. Our IC is in Virgo, both of us in the same house, only a few degrees apart. And that is our perspectives. So I feel like that also is very similar. And then our Mars, we both have Mars and Leo in the second house. It's just, Mars is your body consciousness. So I believe twin flames are two sides of the same coin. So we have the same core, as I believe this, is it's two hearts, two different bodies, but one soul. And so we have the same core, but we are extremely different. Extremely different. There's a lot of
Okay.
things that are very, very different about the two of us. Um, which, we're like the closest mirrors. So there's a lot of triggering that goes on.
Okay.
It's soul work. It's not 3D romantic, fairy tale, like kind of love. There's just energy about it. And I know for me and for him, like he knew who I was from the minute he met me. And it took me 10 years to
Wow.
be able to see him. And what he did is he just held space for me and was a great, great friend and walked me through a lot of my healing and was always there for me. And um, on my end, I was, walking through a lot of my trauma and my addiction. This man has been sober for 37 years. So we are 15 years apart in physical age. And I started doing a lot of rituals in 21 to bring in a divine love, a higher love. I wanted somebody, that was on my same level. And then in 22, I received a download that he was coming. And so here I am, like looking, I'm out there looking, not
Yeah.
realizing this is somebody I already knew. Um, and then it became very, very obvious to me that who he was, and it was him, and that I've known him. And I think it's just, that's very common with twin flames. There's such an unmistakable magnetizing type of energy, and it goes beyond the physical.
Mm.
It's a soul. So when I first got here, when we did come into union, and I moved here to Florida to be with him, it was almost destabilizing for me.
Yeah.
And it brought about a lot of other purging of like my trauma and emotional healing, because this man accepts me unconditionally, loves me unconditionally, and is so patient. And I did so much crying, and like I didn't understand, like, what am I doing here? And like he was just like, I hope I hope she gets this. I hope she's able to kind of like center herself and see what the point is here. Because he many times he's like, I'm in love with your soul, Maria. Is your soul.
Oh, Maria.
Like it makes it better that like you're an attractive person. And then I like to joke around because humor is that's the best medicine. And I'd say to him, like, we're both very eccentric as far as like we have ways about doing things, and we're both very, very neat and orderly. And I said to him, imagine I was messy. Like, what would that be like if I was messy? It'd be a disaster.
Oh, wow.
And then like one time when I was in the bath, because you and I have shared that we get a lot of downloads within water.
Yeah.
And so I, do a lot. And so I was in the bathtub. This was about a year ago, because I've been here now over a year. So this was pretty early on. And I just started crying because my guides were telling me, and I think they were trying to help me to become more comfortable with this man and to really just be vulnerable and like not have to feel like I was putting on anything or like trying. Like, this just is. And so they said to me, he would have taken you 10 years ago. He would have, like, if you were, because as I do that a lot, like, oh my God, I've wasted so much of our time. Like, look at how much time I've wasted, because he's older than I am. And then like most recently he's had some health issues, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you can't take him from me now. Like, he's
Yeah,
a major
exactly.
part of my journey. Like, I need to have him here. I need you for this phase. And my guides were like, he would have taken you at that point, Maria. And then I, of course, like to joke about it and go like, God, that would have been a disaster for you, because I wasn't sober yet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also was like still struggling with a lot of
Mm.
my own stuff. And so I feel like that's another aspect of this, whether people come together in a union, there's got to be a level of healing that has gone on.
Mm.
Otherwise, it's going to be very chaotic and very
Yes.
destabilizing, because there's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of allowing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of allowing. And then he and I have like so many past lives that we've remembered. And that's part of my work as a shaman, right? Like, I'm here to heal those things.
Mm. Mm.
And that part of it, he doesn't want to discuss. He's like, that's in the past. That happened.
Okay.
Even down to like our names. Like, we remember our names. We remember things that have happened. And
Okay.
he doesn't really want to talk about a lot of that. So
Wow.
that's for me. That's for me to work on. Like
Mm,
that's how I understand it because there's no forcing of anything.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, Maria, I was going to ask you, what is the twin flame? What is a twin flame? So what is a
I'm
twin
sorry, I just
flame?
like went off and like went into it.
That's okay. You know what? In one line, what is your twin flame? Like if someone's just in one sentence, what is a twin flame? Is it the other side of your soul? Is it the soul
Mm-hmm.
split in two, and each one and going into physicality but meeting up again, but each one having the opposite experiences sometimes? Is that what it is? Do you think?
Yes. Yes. I feel like it's a combination of all of that.
Okay,
I feel
okay.
like, we are healing the divine feminine and divine masculine within one another.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I have so many questions going on in my head here, but I want to ask all
Okay.
our base questions first, and add
Okay.
to what you're saying. How do we know we're having a twin flame experience? Because I'll tell you why I asked this question.
Mm.
Because what you described there, I went through with somebody, that kind of relationship, maybe maybe 10, 15 years ago. Started a relationship. He was absolutely awesome, but we were totally different.
Mm.
Right. And I even when the relationship ended, I really struggled to be separate. And
Mm.
to this day, we are still friends, and we are good friends. And I just know my boundaries or whatever with them. And I've had past lives with him. But I've had
Mm.
past lives with him, and in the past life, he's done exactly what he did in the past lives in this life, right? Non-committal
Mm.
and that kind of thing. But I mean, I love him. He's
Oh,
my
that's right.
friend.
We talked about this.
Yes.
You and I talked about this like
So
privately.
so there was
Yeah.
that. But then there is
Uh-huh.
another thing that's happening now that's come into my life. And this person is the one I remember his name. This person
Mm.
is the one that's very personal to me. I mean, like, he has our child that we had in that previous life, in this lifetime.
Mm.
I know
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
Mm.
He doesn't know it. So, you know what I mean? Like, that can be confusing now. That other
Yes.
one looked like it could be,
Well,
this one looks like it could be,
so I feel like what's always really interesting about just being human in general is the free will, right? The free will, because that's the wild card. At the end of the day, we have our own choices. And so it's not destined. Like there's destiny involved, but it's not for sure and 100% that we're meant to stay together, that we're meant to be in union
Yeah.
with this twin flame person. Um, and I believe it's different than a soulmate. A soulmate helps us grow. Now, a twin flame does help us grow. So there's like lots of different aspects of this, and people, talk about this and have different opinions. I can only speak from my own experience.
Yes, yes.
For me, there's no way that this relationship would be able to be successful before now for me,
Yes,
even
yes.
though it has been lingering in the background for 10 years. I was not ready to see him. I certainly wasn't ready to listen to my own soul in the way that I am now.
Yeah.
And this is the agreement we've had. So we've gotten very close to being a unified couple in a lot of our lives, but he was always tasked to be my protector. I have been a healer and a very powerful healer, and he was tasked to protect me. And there was always this like energy of wanting to be more than that. And that
Yeah.
really never came to fruition. And this lifetime is our opportunity. That's how I understand this. So yes,
Yeah.
I do believe there's a level of healing one another. I do believe that there's soul contracted
Mm.
bonds
Yeah.
that also are taking place. Yeah.
I'm
It's pretty
I'm
complex and complicated. It's not, and at
yeah.
the end of the day, it's always our choice.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's always our choice.
I'm feeling, when you talked about this earlier, and I'll say it now because I kind of have a download for you, and you were talking about, oh, sometimes you regret the 10 years and all of that. And you
Mm,
went on and you said, actually, it wouldn't have worked if you'd done it earlier because you were not ready. And
mm-mm.
so, or it would have worked, but it would have been probably a very different
I would have caused chaos
dynamic.
in his life. I know
That's
for
right.
sure.
And
This man's
so,
not chaotic. He's
yeah,
so stable and sane.
yeah. And so basically, it's come together now because that's part you do have to do this relationship in this lifetime. You do have to have this
Mm-hmm.
experience. And I'm just finding more and more this is the thing why people are leaving relationships after like 10 years or 20 years and everything's been fine on it in the relationship. And then they
Mm-hmm.
suddenly wake up to, I don't want to be here. I can't be here. I think I've got to be
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else, either on my own or with someone else, and I have to leave it.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
I've been hearing people in recent times, even in their 70s, relieving a relationship because they can't be in it.
Yeah.
And there's possibility that there might be another one coming. And I think this is part of the ascension process that we're going through in this
Yes.
time. Some of us won't return, and we need to clear those.
Mm-hmm.
Not I want to say clear the karma, but I also want to. I'm also going to add to that,
Mm.
fulfill the terms of the soul contract, because that's what we're
Yes.
supposed to do.
That is 100% correct, because I know that my ascension is leading me not to come to earth again.
Yes.
And I was married for 10 years. It was actually 12 by the time we got divorced. And I knew within that marriage pretty early on, but I had my children. And I knew
Yeah.
that this was not going to be a forever relationship. And that
Yeah.
scared me.
Mm.
It scared me because
Yeah.
he loved me. That man loved me and I loved him, but I just knew it wasn't going to be forever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was devastating. And it hurt my children, you know? I mean, it
Yeah.
all worked out in the end, but
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Do you know?
thankfully, I can say, like, for me, thankfully, this was earlier in my life. I'm going to
Yeah.
be 47.
Yeah.
So this is like coming in, divinely at the right
Yes.
timing for
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
Even though it was pretty destabilizing,
Yeah.
I still have a lot of years left to live and enjoy here.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the human experience, what I'm led to say right now is the human experience is very
Mm.
much like if we could see the bigger picture, we will understand the relevance and relativity of everything, right? I think this is
Mm-hmm.
my learning. Like I also have had relationship with my daughter's father, married to him, but it was really
Mm.
strange because the day I was marrying him, I realized I don't think this is actually going to work out.
Mm.
Imagine that to realize that on the day you're getting
On the
married,
day.
on the day. I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, okay. However, now, these many years later, and he's passed on, bless him, but these
Mm.
many years later, I know that his purpose, that our agreement was
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
we, even with having free will, we could have stayed together and we could have had a different life. But, we sort of,
Mm-hmm.
we went in different directions. But our agreement was my daughter was to come.
Yes.
My daughter was to come through that. That was the union that brought my daughter. And that at the end of the day was what had to happen. I was taking my journey to myself. And yeah, it's not been a lot of the things that happened when I was younger. I was so immature and chaotic myself. I have to say, I
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
chaotic too,
Mm-hmm.
Even now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not this absolute calm person. I'm a feisty Aries, I've got to say, but I'm a better
Well, we're
Aries
feisty,
now.
fierly ladies, and we do what
Yeah.
we do. But I
Yeah.
understand, and
Yeah.
I
I'm a
also
better
agree.
person now than I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
30 years
for
ago,
sure.
or
And I
whatever, right?
agree. Like, I have done a lot of spiritual soul work with my ex-husband, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 4 years ago, he came to me in spirit, and we had this chat where I do understand that as well.
Yeah.
My destiny with him was to bring in my children, and
Yeah.
that was it. And Polly
Yeah.
and my partner and I are not meant to have children together.
Yeah. Yeah. The
This
human
is
condition.
strictly soul work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The human condition or the human conditioning makes us feel blah and awful about it. But then we kind of need that for the soul's journey as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because without
Mm-hmm.
that, how, the soul is incarnated in the physicality. So it needs to have its evolution, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
very, very interesting times. I was going to ask, why do you think we have the twin flame experience? And please share it with me because I don't think we know the answers completely. But why do you think we have the twin flame experience?
Well, to follow up with what you're saying about soul, as you and I know, is not linear. It doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes, because soul moving, soul journeying, soul healing is messy, and it's gritty, and it gets us to the depths of things that at times we don't want to look at. we don't want to see, we don't want to experience. But when we can, like you said, see the bigger picture in all of it and see the betterment. And so one of my prayers every day is to humble me through your grace and mercy, that I am able to see my way. I am able to see my steps. And that helps me a lot. So why do I think that this is important? It's for my soul's, I say to him all the time, this is for the betterment of my soul. This is the evolution of my soul. And there's nothing more serious than that. So I will do whatever needs to be done because I take this very, very seriously. The more that I can heal, the more that I can be helpful and of service to others. And that is incredibly important to me.
Yes, yes. Because when the more we heal,
Mm-hmm.
then we understand what the other side of the pain is, and then we can express
Mm-hmm.
that and help people come
Mm-hmm.
through that. If
And
that's
see others.
yes,
Yeah. See
yes,
others in their pain.
exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I believe is, I mean, I have grown even in this obviously 10-year period, but just this last year, so much being able to see through the lens of my divine partner and
Mhm.
have him see me,
Yeah, yeah,
because we just take each other with this level of unconditional love and acceptance. And for me, it's helping me with my patience.
yeah.
I'm with myself
Mm.
because like this is about healing me. It's not about what I want from him. He always reverts it back to me. Does this make you happy, Maria? Does this serve you? Like, how do you feel? And it just turns it around always on me. And
He's
so
awakened,
the
isn't
more that
he?
I love, yeah, the more that I love myself, the like the more in harmony we are,
Mm.
because he's just matching me. We're just mirroring one another.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like incredibly, it's the most beautiful thing. And it's the most challenging thing. This is the absolute, I've said this to my son. This is the hardest type of relationship I've ever experienced. And I don't know that everybody's meant to have this type of relationship. I don't
So,
know that.
so it makes me wonder, why do you say what is hard about this relationship for you? I mean, obviously we can't speak for everyone else. What is hard for you in this?
There are
What's
things that get triggered that help me to see myself. Like this is like constant shadow work.
okay?
It's like constant shadow
Okay,
work.
wow.
Yeah, it is always shadow work because we're it's such a deep, like that, just the deepest connection, and we're mirroring one another. So I always say to him, like, we could scorch each other, we could burn each other to the ground. Like if he's having an emotion, a strong emotion, if he's having anger,
Hmm.
I need to definitely not tap into that. Even if what he's saying is bringing up anger in me, I'm meant to hold it and show compassion. And there's times where that will make me cry, and then I'll have to walk away because my crying breaks his heart and makes him feel sick. But there's that level of it. There's some of it that's just so unexplainable,
Hmm.
and then like we can remember things at the same time. And it's like, okay,
What about
there's a
peace?
knowing, there's
Yeah,
just a knowing,
yeah.
you
So
know this, Ananda, there's a knowing that you can't deny.
no, and I definitely know that. What about peace within yourself in the relationship? So is it a peaceful home? If
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want that to come across as there's not, um, we live a very peaceful existence. He and I are both peaceful people. So we both really value like quiet and calm,
needs to be.
and
Mm.
being able to be like, he is such a stable force within my life and allows me to do what I do. He's like very grounded in this 3D, which allows me to be able to travel into these different dimensions. And we each have lanes that we stay in, right? Like I'm in the upper realms. I'm like traveling the galaxies, and he's here on Earth.
That he's aware
And
of.
that is what'd you say?
That he's aware of, because we all
Yeah.
do whatever we
Yes.
do. When we go to
Yes.
sleep, etc., we do all that stuff. So yeah,
He's definitely in the other places, like the
yeah.
astral realms. That's where he's comfortable. But yes, like there is very much a level of that understanding
Yeah.
within us. And, it's not to say that, like, things aren't like lively and fun, because they are, but we also have very separate lives, and we respect one another for that,
So I think it's a
because we're here
grown-up
to do different
relationship, right?
things.
It's a grown-up
Mm-hmm.
relationship. It's a relationship where you can say, and this is interesting because I was having a conversation with my person last week.
Mm.
We're not together, but we're friends. And he talked about something a while back where he was, um, oh, he just thought, out of the blue, just came out and told me how he wants to do a relationship, and I was not like working. I was working with him at the time, so I didn't even know why we would have such a conversation. Like why would you even tell
Mm-hmm.
me why out of the blue you just come and tell me what kind of relationship you have? And I said, what's written on my forehead? Does it look like I need to know that? Like I'm desperately seeking somebody, that kind of thing.
Mm.
I was like, we're
Mm.
talking accounting. What are you doing that for? But anyway, he brought it back up into conversation last week, which is like what, 3 years down the line. And he said, "Oh, I
Mm.
remember that time when you got a little bit annoyed with me when I said that." And I thought, okay, why are you bringing this back? I think I need to explain this to you. So last week,
Mm.
I said, hey, when you said that, I was at a time in a relationship with somebody who was doing that and didn't give me the value I needed. And so when
Mm.
somebody says this is how I do relationship, and it's not and it's looking like very much independent of each other and coming together when we need to be together,
Mm-hmm.
I when someone says something like that, I have to ask, what makes you think that I want to that's how I do relationship? And even if I do relationship like that, it would be that I want to maintain my independence because I know that this
Mm-hmm.
relationship,
Mm-hmm.
whatever relationship I'm going to have, and if it
Yes.
is with this person, it's going to be grown up because I'm not going to be latching onto you. I'm not going to do
No.
everything with you because, for goodness sake, I cannot. My life does not allow that.
No.
You know, and
No, I
and so
do. Yeah.
so very very much that's the what I'm getting is and you just you sort of spelled it out now when you talked about your relationship, like and always do things together. That's what it
Mm-mm.
is. It's saying I'm in a relationship with you, I'm happy to be with you, you are the love of my life or whatever you are,
Yeah.
but you go off and you do your thing when you need to, and I'll do my thing. And when we come together, we have this amazing time together. But sometimes you'll trigger me. Sometimes you'll irritate me. Sometimes you'll do something I don't like, but I'm not going to turn and run from it because I know that
Mm-mm.
I'm supposed to be with you now in this time and space. And I'm not
Yeah.
here because someone's holding me down or you're like handcuffed me and kept me here. I'm here
Mm.
because I know that this is my place. I know from a mature,
Mm-hmm.
high vibrational space that this is my place, and maybe sometimes we won't agree. Because in the
Mm-hmm.
past, when we didn't agree,
Mm-hmm.
what did we do? When it irritated us, what did we do? We upped and
Yeah.
left. And now I'm saying,
Yeah.
no, actually, I'm not leaving because this is what we agreed to do. I had to go through all of that to come to you and find you and say, yeah, okay, I can do that now. I've put my big girl pants on and I am here to navigate this life. Oh, Maria, that for me, that frightens
And
me
there's a level
still.
of healing. There's a
Yeah.
real
Oh, yes,
deep level
definitely.
of healing with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I recognize it all the time. And I always say to him, like, I couldn't do this with anybody else but you.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't
Exactly.
be the most me if
Yeah.
it's just the energy of having one another around each other.
Mm, mm,
And for him, like I one of my, aspects of my journey is to journey through relationships. So I'm somebody who is a deep person. I get close to people. I can feel connection. He has been the opposite of that. Not let anybody really truly see who he is.
yeah.
And so there's a level of intimacy that this requires that is obviously going to bring a lot of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And that is so beautiful to see and to hold somebody within, especially somebody who's not used to that at all. Um, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of acceptance that goes on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, and the separateness, because I am And then I have my work to do here. I have a lot of important things to do. And he very much respects that and honors it, even though he doesn't always understand the language that I'm speaking. He knows how important this is and that he's a part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, I mean, his main job here is just to protect me. And that's what he does. He protects me,
Yeah. You
which
see,
I feel like
that's the
that's
thing.
divine masculine.
That's the thing. You have
That
to
is a
be with
masculine man.
somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be with
Mm-hmm.
somebody that respects what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
This fifth
Mm-hmm.
dimensional transformation process we're going through, and we're coming into our space. We're coming into our own. Being with that person, being in a relationship where somebody doesn't get it is okay
Mm.
that they don't get it. But when they start showing disrespect and trashing it, that's another
Mm.
story. And
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing is to be with somebody who doesn't, whether they get it or not doesn't matter, but they respect
Yeah.
what you're doing, right?
Yes.
And so
Very much
ultimately
so.
at the end of the day, that's the that's the thing, right? That is the thing about being in a twin flame relationship as well. So they don't understand it maybe sometimes or whatever, but they respect you at the core of what at the core level they respect you,
Yeah.
and inadvertently they respect what you're doing and support that transformation. And you see, right now, many of us are going to come into relationships like that because many of us, I know, even for me, this is a
Oh
prediction in my
yeah.
life that that's what's going to
Yes.
happen, and I'm struggling with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling with
Mm-hmm.
giving over my power. I'm struggling with
Well, because there's a
how I
surrender
feel.
to it. Like, let me be clear. There's a lot of, and I've even spoken about this with close friends who knew me before and know me now and have said, gosh, Maria, congratulations. Like, wow, there's a lot of surrender. There is a lot of surrender that goes on. But I'm not alone doing it. You know, my guides are helping me do this. My my inner knowing, my desire to better my soul, you know, to just to be here. I mean, that like is such a part of my mission to help heal humanity one heart at a time, but I have to do it for myself, to do for myself first,
Exactly.
and then it ripples to others. So yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of like you're teaching me so much here now when you're talking to me. You know that, right? Because, like I said, I've been struggling with something with this thing for a while, and
Yeah, so that's what I mean by it's not easy, it's challenging.
it is,
But it
yes.
also comes with the most like, and I could get so emotional because like it is so beautiful to feel so safe and so seen and so felt by someone else. And this has never happened to me in my
Wow.
whole life. I mean, this man cares for me more, and it's because of who we are to one another, because my own parents weren't able to do that. They just
Mm,
weren't. And so I feel like
mm.
my dad being in spirit very much has guided me, and like
Oh,
my dad has
Maria.
guided me to him for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because he's a lot like my dad,
Okay.
and in
Wow.
beautiful ways, and not,
Yes. Yes.
in very, very beautiful ways. But like that, I think every father wants their daughter to be taken care of.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so we, care for one another on a soul level,
Yeah.
not a physical, material based
Mm,
it's not about the outer package.
yeah.
It's soul. It's so different. It's
Wow.
completely different. So not everybody's ready for that.
No, not
Not
everybody's ready
everybody's
for
ready.
that. And just like you saying this and being emotional, it's just like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, it's making me think about myself because, I had a
Mm-hmm.
recent download. I couldn't understand why I was being pulled to this person.
Mm.
And then probably about maybe last year sometime, I realized it was their higher self calling to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yes.
thought, that's crazy. And then
Well, I'll tell you this, if I could just share this piece, because his avatar, right, his spiritual avatar was showing up between 21 and 22 when I started to really pull this in, and my
yeah.
guides were preparing me, and all of a sudden I had this white wizard. I had this white wizard who
Oh
I
my
called my
gosh.
Gandalf, and he was speaking to me, and that was him.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was him guiding me and talking to me, and it was all of it. And so when we came together and I told him these things, he looked at me and I was like, oh, wait, that was you? He's like,
Hey,
I am, but
Maria.
this is a joke about me too. It's like, I'm the last one. You get this, Ananda. We're highly intuitive people. But in my own life, sometimes I'm the last to know.
Oh yeah,
I'm the
absolutely,
last to
absolutely.
know.
Or like you can tell other people and encourage them in their lives, but you
Yes.
don't think the same for yourself, right? But you just given
Mm-mm.
me so much download because I tell you what, I had two Gandalfs turn up in 2022 in my life. And they were not dressed like the
Hmm.
Gandalf, that they were actually dressed
No.
in a very different like gar- garments. And they
Okay.
actually helped me go into the pre-birth space and clear the karma for my dad.
Mm.
And then afterwards, this was coming into my space. And so it's really interesting because I've cleared the karma for him. And you're talking about your dad and your dad guiding you in spirit. And I just have to wonder
Mm-hmm.
because,
Oh yeah.
I have resigned myself to, I'm really happy for the rest of my life to be on my own.
Mm.
And so when this person's higher self rocked up last year, I was like, okay, maybe I need to send you back to him because maybe I think you've left him. I think it's your
Mm.
higher self. He gave me his name as well,
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then I did the ceremony for them to realign, and that was fine. And he returned about a couple of months ago. And when he returned, he said, I'm one of your guides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We tell the story today because somebody out there, I've never heard of someone else's higher self being a guide to somebody, someone who's alive,
Mm-hmm.
and their higher self is
Mm-hmm.
now being the guide to somebody else who's still alive, right? That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks after that happened, I was listening to somebody, one of the tarot readers or something, who came out and said it.
Mm-hmm.
So these people, if you think about it, because their higher self's your higher self too, if it's a twin flame, right? Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, so I'll tell you this. So
Yeah.
his avatar, this white wizard, he actually has on his phone as a profile. And that is very similar to how he looked in our most recent past life.
Wow.
So he and I remember a lot of
Wow.
details about our
Wow.
most recent past life. So
Yeah.
much to the point where, like, my soul's name, Serena, that was my name. When I said that, he was like, and he's like, where did, and I go, that was my name. And he was like, I know. And just like, there's just a lot of, but that's what we're doing. So that's what I believe is that we are healing. We're taking from where we left off, bringing it into this life, going through what we've gone through. I mean, this man has been hearing my name way before he even met me. We've only known each other since 2013,
Wow.
and he was hearing the name Maria for years.
Wow. Wow.
So, there's just a lot of just unmistakable connection. But yeah, that was how he looked. That's how
It's
he
really
looked. Is
about
this like
giving
white?
in. It's really about
Mm-hmm.
surrendering to what the
Oh
guides are
yes.
saying and saying, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because my resistance is I don't want to be taken care of completely by somebody else.
Mm.
I want to take care of me. And
Mm.
right now, with all the things that have been going on, my journey at the moment, it's been a challenge to take care of me. I can take
Mm.
care of other people, but taking care of me has been a challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
and so it feels like, yeah, there's got to be barriers that I have to overcome before I can actually see the fruition of that. But I mean, gosh, who has time for it? I can't be bothered with it. I'm Aries and the Aries woman and fire and impatience. Well, I mean, that's who I am.
Yeah.
So but I'm not going to say to own that. But thank you because it's been such an insightful thing because it's making more sense to me and it's not making me feel like I'm going mental about it when we're talking about twin flame
Mm-mm.
now. I don't know
Yeah,
that this
no.
is the twin flame. I thought it was a soulmate because it's a lot of other things we have that's in common. Like he
Mm.
speaks of being a parent, like I speak of being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
we both became single parents quite young when our children were quite young, and
Mm-hmm.
the way he loves his son and took care of him and took the responsibility for him is the way I feel for my daughter. And
Yeah.
about my
Yeah.
daughter, and I thought that was like pretty interesting, and that kind of stopped me in my tracks when I would not have thought about this person. They don't
Mm.
look like anything I would. No, let me say this a different way. It's not someone the he looks is not someone I would be attracted to ordinarily,
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
um, his type is blonde.
Isn't
Isn't that a joke? Isn't that funny?
well, that it's funny because not like again, this all transcends that.
Yeah.
You know, he happens to be a very handsome man, but I've also in my life here never had a type. All of like my
Me too.
ex-husband
Yeah.
looks very different than the
Yeah.
last person I was
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
looks completely different than who
I
what
don't
he
believe in
looks
having
like.
types.
So yeah, no, me too. Like I just don't. I see souls. I mean, that's part of my journey.
Exactly.
It's part of who I am.
Connection.
That's part of me
Yeah.
being able to do the work I do. But that's also been confusing and hard because I've had to realize, like, Maria, take what you see and not the potential of what you feel.
Yes.
Because that's been confusing. Like, oh, I see like the beauty of your soul and like who you are. And that person may not be there yet. They may not be actually doing all of that
Yeah.
in this realm.
Yeah.
And so it's like that was hard for me
Yeah,
to
definitely.
accept.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I tell myself most days I'm okay with it that happens or not because I'm actually not looking for, I'm not looking to be with anyone. I'm pretty okay on my own, bar the
Mm.
provisioning for myself, for the material needs.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
and
feel
this,
like that's an intention too. Like when I got divorced from my ex-husband, I always knew that I would be, I mean, my intention is for us to be married because that's just important to me. That's very important to who I am.
yeah,
But I always wanted to be in this type of a relationship. So I put the intention out there. That's what I
yeah,
mean. When I started doing rituals in 21, I started asking my guides to bring me a divine love, bring me an evolved man. Please bring me somebody who can like be on the same wavelength with me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even ask. I don't really care to ask about that. For me, I've had that attitude about it. Like I'm just okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never really felt the need for it, but because I'm not lonely, I'm not my life
Mm.
is pretty full, and
Mm-hmm,
it's
mm-hmm.
full with the things I want in it. It's full with the things that make me happy, you know. Um, and then this happened, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? And even
So
now,
it's shaking you up a little bit. Who knows?
it did. I had sleepless nights
Yeah.
about it. That's why it was hard because
Mm.
this person was constantly talking to me in my dreams. What's wrong with this person?
Mm-hmm.
Just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
What? Stop
Mm-hmm.
talking to me.
All the
You know,
time. Yeah. All the time he
oh
would
my
come in.
gosh,
Yeah.
Maria. So that's what that is
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, why do you keep talking to me? And like, what? About what? Why do I need to know about that? It's constant, constant. And even now, like I haven't had dreams for a while. I have had conversation and but also like, and then we have this thing of now like for example, I had some important news that I wanted to share with him. I called him twice. He didn't answer, but he also didn't contact me back. And then I'm like, what the heck? I go back to my guides and I'm like, what the heck's all that about? But again, I have to release it. I have to say,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Don't
Mm-hmm.
even get attached to the outcome. So what? Just treat
Yeah,
this.
no. And okay, so that's another big part of this. There's no assuming things, there's no expecting things like, oh, that has to be right out the window. And when I start to feel myself expecting something, oh, then I'm just setting myself up for disappointment
Oh,
because
absolutely.
that's not how this operates at all, at all.
Absolutely.
And so like him coming in as a guide who I thought was just this new guide I had was to help me heal because that guide at that time in my life when he came in that way was so helpful to me, so helpful. And that's like who he is, just is a human being in this
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
We're similar. We do things a little differently, but he's a helper.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yes.
helper.
Yeah. So
he's
is
he's
he.
he's a servant. He
Yeah. Yeah.
very much is a servant. Yeah, he
Yeah.
is a servant's heart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So is Hugh. I'll call him Hugh because, we're not giving away names yet, but Hugh Paul is
Yeah.
his name from our previous lifetime.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
His name is Hugh Paul. Why do you laugh? Oh, that's Paul.
I'm laughing because my partner's name is Paul.
Yeah, he's called Hugh Paul in the previous lifetime. And
That's
like
funny.
yeah, and I
Just synchronicities. Like I'm just laughing at synchronicities
synchronicity.
because
Yeah,
that's
lots of
hilarious.
synchronicity. I understand.
Yes.
And so Hugh in this lifetime is the King of Pentacles. Dare I say
Mm.
more? you know, is the king of pentacles in terms of stability, in terms of reliability, in terms of serving others, loving people, and
Mm.
just being there, just being down to earth. Although something he said a few weeks ago made me think you're not, but he came back and retracted,
Well,
and it
yeah,
wasn't like,
yeah,
well, I
yeah,
thought,
yeah,
because it
yeah.
was me and my ideas of things. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
whether this what turns out or not for me as is okay.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, it some parts of me feel I'll be very disappointed, and other parts of me feel like that's okay. I could take it or leave it. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there has to be like an acceptance of it too. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, again, like there's times where like things can happen and it's like, oh, that's so crushing. But then I'm like, for me, what am I to learn from this? That's another one of my daily prayers is how can I grow, learn, and be taught? Please, Maria, like allow yourself to be teachable.
Yeah.
Allow yourself
Yeah.
this opportunity to have happiness because a
Yeah.
lot of my life has not really created a lot of happiness.
Yeah.
um, and this is yeah, as challenging as it is, it's also pretty simple and easy because he's a
Mm.
pretty simple guy. So
Maria,
yeah.
for us coming to the conclusion of the interview, can you tell us,
Mm.
why do you think we're going through the twin flame? Well, what do you think is happening to us? Why are we going through twin flame? And I don't mean you and
I
I just
No,
mean
I believe
as a collective.
as a human
Yeah,
race, yes,
yeah,
I believe it's the healing of the divine feminine and masculine because there's just been so much imbalance. And so
okay,
this is a time of balancing these energies. So there is balance on earth. It has
yeah,
to happen within the human race. It's gotten so out of whack.
okay. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
this is
Yeah.
another way to balance that divine feminine and
Yeah.
divine masculine.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for talking with us today, talking with all of us, because it's a concept, and I know we kind of got more personal, and we talked about it in a brief way, and there's so many other facets to this that people can talk about,
Mm-hmm.
because some people speak of it as experts, and some people speak of it from reading cards and all of that. But
Mm.
this was our perspective, and it was kind of a nice perspective. I like that it was personal, and I like that it was us talking
Yeah.
about you know what we're going through, and you always, I'm just finding you always have to release, be prepared to release at any time, and say, okay, so I thought it was going to be that, now it's not that, now move on and get on with your life. You have to just keep your life going. And
Oh, yeah.
as you are supposed, you have to be stable in yourself and knowing yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
function
Mm-hmm.
as you would function if you didn't have that person in your life. And also, don't give
Mm-hmm.
up anything for anyone. Don't give up your soul's
Mm-mm.
purpose for anyone. This is about following through with your soul's purpose, being in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, but saying, yes, it's romantic, but it's not all about the romance. And
Mm-mm.
sometimes
Yeah.
things will happen that will prevent the romantic stuff from happening. And are you going to
Mm-hmm.
say, this is not happening, I'm leaving because I expect this out of a relationship? It's
Yeah.
really saying to be soul focused, right? And just go
Yes.
through the motions of everything. Yeah.
Yes. Not, I
Yes.
mean, one of my guides, St. Francis, wear the world like a loose garment. Don't
Yeah.
be too attached to anything. And so
Yeah.
this is a lot of detaching. This is detaching with love to the 100th degree. But I have a poem that I'd like to, because
And
I've
that's what I was going
written,
to ask you next. If there's anything else you
okay,
wanted to tell us, so please tell
wonderful.
us.
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
have like, well, I have like 5 poems, but I could share like maybe 2
Yes,
if you
please.
want.
Yes,
But
sure.
this one, okay, this is the one that I wrote right before our union. It's called Twin Flame. Inside my shell, cocooned by self love, departing its confinement as I take flight above, opening my wings as a butterfly to new heights, releasing years of painful weight, searching for you by the pale moonlight. Colors bleed together, creating one beautiful timeline, meant to reach stratospheric dimensions, catapulting into realms of mystic perception, drawn to one another like a moth to a flame, following you for a millennia, calling out your name, reunited by soul once and for all, drunk on bonded energies, absinthe alcohol, holistically medicinal, euphoric magnetism, blessed and baptized, determined to define love's pragmaticism, eternally bonded by our twin flame union.
Wow.
And
Tells the
this
truth,
one,
doesn't it? Tells the truth.
that one was like setting me up for like what I was about to
Wow.
just step into, because
Yeah.
that was probably like a week before we had this like really turning point conversation. Um, this one is called The Knowing of the Unknowns. Drowning, begging, pleading, fighting. The ending is how the beginning will feel, only allowing the heart to reveal. A love born into two bodies, one soul. Years flash by in what we consider to be lifetimes, accumulated stories with lessons to build upon. One running into the next, and so forth and so on and on. The tingling remembrance of our times together, resentment built over lifetimes, is forgotten never. Watching from a distance and longing to tell truths that only you and I knew so well. We clearly know who we are to one another by feeling. Every time we come back, one of us chooses to unknow healing. Energetically entwined, attraction rewinds, pushing and pulling away from the other until the knowing kicks in. Now is the time for divinely guided ascension, leaning into the unknowns, the mystery we chose to solve in each life. Reincarnation of twin flames dares and smashes away wrongs and rights. Everything is love, unconditional in nature, the stories and prayers of the ascended masters. Wondering how it will all play out in the end. Two hearts, one soul to transcend into the unknowns of the abyss forever and again.
Wow, that's awesome. That's beautiful.
Thank
Wow.
you. It's how I make sense of this.
It so
And what
tells
I
the
hear, like what I
story.
hear.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's what
yeah.
I hear. It's yes, I like that you say that, Ananda, because it my poetry as the shaman I am is the storytelling of spirit. These are the messages that I receive, and it's the stories that I'm telling. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much today. Thank you for your time. So much to ponder.
Mm.
It's given me, it's given me, it's making me feel better about how I'm flowing and floating means I have to float.
Good.
I have to float and
We
float.
have to. You gotta float. Otherwise, like, what's the other option?
Yeah.
Drowning?
No, we're not going to do that.
No, we're
Definitely not
not
going to do that.
drowning. We have
No.
to flow and float and just take everything as it comes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
be happy with where it's at, like, oh, this
Yeah.
is it. Yeah.
Present moment, staying in the
Present
present.
moment,
Yes.
staying in the present
Hmm.
moment. Thank you so much today for your time. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the comments on this one.
Me
So,
too.
yeah, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for
Thank you.
watching. And thank you,
Yes.
Maria Teresa. It's so good to have this connection. And
Hmm.
it looks like you'll be back for a few more times
Hmm.
and a little bit more after that.
Yes.
So good to
Yes.
have the
I
collaboration.
accept and I agree.
Thank you. Thank
Namaste.
you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. I'll catch you next time here on Ananda Rose. And yeah, keep reaching for the stars. It's all going and it's all flowing. Take care. Namaste.